Hey everybody, welcome back to Keeping It Real with Tiff and Carl. I'm Carl Rabun,
And I am Tiff Salcido.
and we are hard at work using brain power in a time where we shouldn't have to, but all will be revealed.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so Tiff, how have you been? The last time we talked was at the end of the Tribal Tennis Institute. We were there for 3 days,
Yeah.
and so what you been doing since then?
Hit the ground running. I left from there the very next day, came down. We were in Ensenada for a few days and um chilling, doing Ensenada stuff, eating tacos and vibing. And then we came back down here to San Felipe and we've been working on the house. Um, we have a bunch of construction going on. We just It's so exciting. You're an old person when you're excited about new toilets.
Oh yeah.
I did have to work a couple of days last week, and on the second day that I was working, the entire internet went out. The whole world, my provider, the whole world was out everywhere.
Wow.
And so luckily it happened at lunchtime, and I grabbed my laptop and booked it to the nearest public place with Wi-Fi. And I taught the rest of my class in 97-degree weather outside, stealing Wi-Fi from a local business. But the show must go on. And I had started that day with one of my favorite quotes. If you stay flexible, you never get bent out of shape. So I had to definitely walk that walk. And so we stayed flexible and we got it done. And the good news was I was at the brewery. So when the class was over, I was already where I wanted to be. So it worked out just per cosmic. Cosmic is what that was.
So you
But
got a
no, it was
what?
yeah. But I it was chaotic, a little chaotic, but we managed. It was a good class.
Very
God
cool.
love the internet.
Well, we better.
What have you been up to? Yeah, what have you been up to?
Well, so I had a class last week and it went well and but most of the rest of the week I was just really I was feel like I was just recovering from the week before, just everything was that institute was a big one. It was a long one.
Yeah.
It wasn't long. I mean, it was actually a half day shorter than normal, but just the trip between places, everything was a trip. Right. And it was wonderful. I mean, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
Pachanga is, if you're ever going to do anything, Pachanga is the place to be if you want it to be A plus. The food was great, the snacks were great, the desserts were great, the staff was great, right? They really took care of us. But it's also a very, very a grand resort, right? And so it's large and spacious and so you get a lot in and so you get a lot of walking in, get a lot and then if you're teaching classes you're up and moving, and then along with teaching classes just in between every meal and announcements and things like that, just constantly being present, you know 8 in the morning till 7 at night sometimes. And so um and like I said, it's my favorite week. Those of you who just came back from it, if you're recovering, then you know what I'm talking about. But it's my favorite week every year, and I don't mind doing it. It's just I was kind of glad that I didn't have a whole lot on my plate last week because I just really needed those couple days to recover. And the older I get, the more recovery I need. So, yeah. But
No, it's
yeah,
a true story.
yeah.
I
So
got
I
a whole
was,
lot of steps in that week too. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny. I we usually would try to record every week, but it wasn't until the Thursday of the next week that I was like, oh, I haven't talked to Tiff.
And I wasn't looking for you either because I had so much going on here. I mean, it was like so much chaos. Like we and like we had so many people like in and out because we had the contractors coming. We had a different contractor for another job that we were doing. We had the solar guys out here. I mean, we're just so much that I too like the whole week went by and I was like, oh. I'll catch Carl after the weekend, but you got me first. You got me
And
first, which is great. I'm glad you did because we needed to do it.
I was like, holy crap, that's right, we do a podcast.
I'm like,
So,
58 listeners are going to be really disappointed if we don't get it
right?
together.
Yeah. I mean, and
We
thank you
can't
to
let
those of
all
you who,
58 of you down. Yes.
and there might be more of you. If there's more of you, subscribe. And
Yeah.
so we can see, we get people, who asking us, we get, I got a couple things for guests this week, and I had to tell them we don't have a budget because we're not sponsored, so we can't really
Hmm.
pay anybody to come on. They're doing it out of the goodness of their heart, like Jackie and Carol Lee and Kelly Zani, right? So, um,
Kelly.
but we get more opportunities for sponsors if you know you all are able to show that we deserve sponsors. So your help helps us, help us help you, right? So
That wasn't a passionate plea. I don't know what was.
yeah, well, did that sound passionate? I mean, you know, do I need to get worked up? I need to see everybody out there
A
clicking those
little bit,
follow
maybe a
buttons.
little bit.
Okay, all right. But I look out
Well,
in the backyard.
so I listened to, yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
I listened to I guess I do listen to a podcast now, except it's more news than anything. And at the end, they have millions of followers, and they're always like, well, for a long time they were like, let's get to 5 million, and then they got to 5 million, and now they're like, let's get to six. So I'm just saying, let's get to 60 followers, and then we'll get to 70. So let's start with 60,
And then we're going to 80, and then we're going to 90, and then we're going to
and then we're
100.
going to 90. Yeah, exactly. So we'll start with 60. We're not greedy. We'll start with 60 and go from there.
Do my Howard
Sounds
Dean, and
fair
then we'll
to
get to
me.
90, then we'll get to 100.
There,
No,
that's passionate. That's the kind of energy I was looking for, Carl. That
that's the
is
type of
it.
energy that will keep you from being nominated for president. So,
That's right. That's right. Well, I don't want to be anyways.
yeah.
That
So,
feels like a lot of
Tiff,
work.
yeah, well, if you do it right, it seems like it'd be a lot of work, but
That's true.
yeah,
That's
anyways,
true.
yeah. So, in honor of being in the middle of summer madness, and just kind of want to start with our top five. We're going to lead off with our top five this week, like we have been doing. But so Tiff, we want to start with our top five summer songs, or as we know them, summer jams. And so
Summer
just thinking about that
jams.
with that sun behind you, El Capitan and Half Dome behind me, just thinking about if you're sitting at the beach or sitting at your favorite campground or lake and you got the radio on, or you bring out your speaker and you're playing your favorite uh, app, which whether it's Spotify or Apple Music or Spotify or Amazon Music or Spotify or YouTube and Spotify,
Yep.
So
Yep.
just thinking about or iHeart Radio or
Hmm.
iHeart
Or Spotify.
Spotify. Yeah,
Or Spotify.
you know. But what song when it comes on just really makes you think of summer, just makes you feel like you're in the right spot, all your cares are drifting away. What do you got, Tiff?
I got so in my top five, number one is Pitchin' on a Party by DJ Quick.
Mm,
Pitchin' on a party always makes me feel very summery. Always. Because I can just imagine like the house party, everybody's having fun. It's all sweaty and stanky because everybody's dancing. That's a good time. And then another one that made it to my list is Bad Romance from the Miss Lady Gaga.
oh,
Um, that song reminds me of, okay, so I'm going to tell you a fun fact. Um, I used to love to go dancing. Um, and one of the places we used to go dancing is this nasty, funky dive bar in Modesto called the Brave Bull. And if you've been to the Brave Bull, you know the Brave Bull is skanky and the floors are sticky and the drinks are cheap and abundant. But it is a really great place. And so I remember the summer that Bad Romance came out, as soon as the chorus would hit, they would hit these strobe lights and just the whole dance floor. I mean, it was so that one always reminds me of a good summertime. Um, Also on my list, Work It by Miss Missy Elliott. I can't not hear that and just be joyful and happy and feeling like a fun day. Uh, I also have Sunday Afternoon by Lighter Shade of Brown. Like I that song I want to ride my bike. It just makes me want to be on my bike cruising. That's a definite that's a jam. And Lazy Afternoon by Revolution.
Hmm.
It's like a California reggae song. Super cool. And I figured out the mystery song. I figured it out, Carl, because I
What's that?
could not figure out my honorable mention. And it is Pinch Me by Bare Naked Ladies. That song is like a summer nap. It's like a super chill joy. Like I hear that song come on and I'm like, I freaking love this song. And then I don't hear it for another 8 to 10 business years and I'm okay. But when I hear it, it reminds me of like just a cool, chill summer afternoon. Those are my songs. Those are my top five plus an honorable mention for the song that eluded me for several minutes. We couldn't start the podcast on time because I couldn't figure out the song. And now it's stuck in my head forever.
The
What about
earworm
you,
that'll
Carl?
never get out. Yeah, summer jams has always take me back to like, you talked about younger days, right? So, just a lot of mine just really go back to when I was a kid or even into my early 20s, right? So, my number
So the
one, just
1840s? 1840s? I'm just joking.
so my number one, thinking about from the 1990s, gosh, see my blinking, um, is Summertime by
Yeah.
DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Yep.
Just
Yeah, that's a good one.
every time I know it's a cliche, but every time it comes on, it
It's a good song.
is it's right for what it needs to be. And then my second takes me back to just being with my mom and my uncles going camping. It's Saturday in the Park by Chicago,
Mhm.
which is just a great tune for thinking about just being out with people and enjoying yourself. My number third is I Wish by Stevie Wonder, which is another one from Songs of the Key of Life, which is one of my favorite albums. All right. And then keeping it in the 70s R&B, That's the Way of the World by Earth, Wind and Fire. Hearts of fire, create
That's
my
a good one.
fire. That one doing all day, right? And then another one, keeping it in the 70s, Outstanding by the Gap Band.
Good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, these are
I
all where
I approve.
just lets me lean further back in the chair. And if I'm just grooving on it, I might forget the sausages and the chicken that's on the grill, but just having me relax. And then a couple honorable mentions. Um, Is This Love by Bob Marley, right? Because
Yeah,
it
that's
always
a good
kicked
one.
off the Legend CD, which is a no skip CD, so you just play that through, or back when we used to have albums. And and another honorable mention, just with my friends where I grew up, I got five on it. Yeah, that is a
Okay, that is a good one. they have a remix that E40 is
That's
in.
that's the
The
remix. Yeah. Yeah. The
That's
I
the
Got Five on
remix.
It
Okay,
remix. That's what has to be playing.
that's the one. It has to
Yeah.
be the remix. Thank you. The OG
40
is a
makes it
good
happen.
song,
Yeah.
but the remix 20 out of 10. 20 out of 10. See, okay, so now this makes me wants to go. It makes me wants to go further because then
Wants to go
like this.
further.
Yeah, remember I told you my top five summer jams is about 14 hours long because now I'm like thinking there's a song, Love in This Club" by Usher.
But Usher,
That when
yeah.
I hear that
Usher.
song, it reminds me of, yeah, it reminds me Usher. It reminds me of the summer going camping at Lake Don Pedro, and every single boat that came into the harbor was playing that song. It was just kind of like funny. It was like a every single boat that came in was playing that song. And so every
Yeah.
time I hear that song, it takes me back to that lake, chilling at the lake, watching boats come in,
Mm,
playing Usher. Gotta make
yeah.
love club. It's a good
You know what's
song.
another remix is the SWV song with the Michael Jackson remix. Love will
Yeah.
be right here, right. That's how it used to be everywhere.
Be right there.
Yeah, we'd be sitting at the park
Be-
and just hear
Yeah.
every car driving by. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Oh,
so
taking
good.
us back.
I know. I love summertime. I like a lot of music. I all kinds of music, all kinds. But it's funny how music can just transport you back to like a specific moment in time. Um, my friend Dope, my friend
Hmm.
Dope, her and I have similar but yet very different musical tastes. We like the same music, but we listen to different kinds of music, which is kind of interesting. So we have made playlists for each other for like me introducing her to maybe some of the stuff that I listen to, and she introduces me. So she like will randomly send me a song and be like, "You're gonna love this song." And I would have never ever listened to the song ever in my life had it not been for her. So I think it's like this great connector. Um, where I kind of suck as a human being is I can never remember songs. I'll be like right now, I'm like, wow, there's a song I know. I don't know how it goes or what the lyrics are, what the chorus is, or who sings it, but it's stuck in my head. But I figured it out. Takes me a while. But I wish there was like a music search engine where you could be like, what was that music I heard inside that one bar? That one time in 1998 when I was wearing that blue shirt, and the search engine would just know like what that song was.
They're getting close. AI is getting close.
Really do hope so. I really do hope so. We were in Ensenada several years ago, and we were like just walking around the downtown area. And we came to this like club that was playing live music. They had a band there. And so we just popped in, and the singer was singing this song that you knew was a cover. Like I had never heard the song before, but everybody in the audience knew this song. So I'm like, oh, this must be a pretty famous song, but it slapped. It was a great song. And I couldn't remember for years that song. And I went on a deep dive one night, like listening to every female Spanish speaking um artist and every hit. Couldn't find it, couldn't find it, couldn't find it. And then one day it just slapped me in the face. And I'll never forget it now. Yurida, Ya te olvidé. That's the song. But I couldn't believe I went through every genre of knowing like who could this be, and I figured it out. I played the long game. Play the long game. So I hope that search engine comes out soon because I'm wasting way too much brain power on random songs that I don't know. I'm just saying for the record, way too much. Do you know what I could have done? I could have conquered big problems in this world if I wasn't so concerned about what song did I hear at a random dive bar in 1998. I'm just saying.
I hear you. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I keep Shazam handy. Anytime I
Mm,
walk through, a store that's blasting their music and it's something that I remember or I haven't heard in a while, I always try to catch Shazam,
Shazam it.
because that's how I zhuzh it now. Shazam. I did that, was it yesterday? Yesterday or Saturday, one of the two, I don't know. But did that while I was in the store. That was cool. Found a song that they were talking about.
Okay, so quick question.
Hmm.
Did you LimeWire I mean, or wait, hold on. Allegedly, did you know anybody who LimeWired back in like the 90s and 2000s? Did you know someone, real or fictitious, that used LimeWire to download music?
So LimeWire is
Allegedly.
like a Napster or
Yeah, yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I use Napster. Um, I used another
Allegedly.
allegedly. I used another one. I can't remember what it was. But I
Okay.
did
Well,
not use LimeWire.
okay. Well, I had a friend that, real or imaginary, allegedly, who had several hours of music on LimeWire before you could like download, like, before Spotify and Pandora and such. And one of the biggest, like, funny, weird, stupid things about LimeWire, that I heard from a friend, was that you could download a song, like the name of a song and an artist, but it may or may not be that song or that artist. And so there were like several songs that this imaginary or real friend allegedly had that were not the song that they said that they were. And I can never, ever, ever, ever find out who the real artist and the real song is, but they're like great songs that I wonder, I wish, allegedly, that this LimeWire music still existed, because there is one song that I really, really liked that was not the artist and it was not the song it said it was, but it was
Mhm.
still a great song. And I will never be able to find it again in my life, ever.
Hmm.
Um, Allegedly. I don't know how long the statute of limitations is for pirating music, but that's nothing I would have ever done. Oh,
Of course
nothing I
not.
would have ever done. No.
That's not what we
I
do.
heard about Napster from a friend, but I've never used it, or LimeWire. LimeWire would give your computer tuberculosis, to say the least. I'm sure my whole identity, or this identity of my friend, is probably all over the dark web because of the stuff that was downloaded on that LimeWire. But I really wish I could find the
Hmm.
actual real artist for this one song that I downloaded. I mean, somebody else downloaded that I heard peripherally.
All right, so let's get out of self-incrimination and and get into our questions for the week. Do you have a question prepared, Tiff? Do you have your question book?
I don't have my question book here. I do not have it here. I don't have space for anything right now because we're doing construction. Everything is like all crammed in to one room. But I do have a question.
Okay.
Like, what I don't know. I think we talked about the struggle meals before. I don't know if we have or we haven't, but can you think of like a meal from your childhood that was like super, we call them struggle meals in my family, but like something that's super low budget, but is completely like satisfying and delicious and nostalgic for you?
Yeah. Well, that you see, I have a couple, right?
Mhm.
I grew up on top ramen, and we used to make top ramen and corn, and so we'd
Oh
take
yeah.
top ramen butter, the seasoning packet, and then add some corn in it, and then mix it up, and that, and also mac and cheese and corn, mac and cheese and hot dogs, right? Those were some of the first meals I was taught to make. I grew up, I was raised on a fried egg sandwich, so I taught how to, make fried egg sandwiches, tortilla and butter, those staples
Hmm.
of life, and then also one that's not a struggle meal anymore. It's Spam. We used to be able to get Spam hella cheap, and not
Yeah,
anymore.
spam
But
is expensive now.
yeah, Spam and eggs and Spam sandwiches, things like that for sure. Yeah. How about you?
My mom used to make, she still makes it for me, which is really funny because, we're also not struggling anymore, but it's like so nostalgic for me. She used to fry up skin on russet potatoes in like thin slices and then cook that with hot dogs, or when we were like doing well, like uh Polish sausage or kielbasa. Like, and
Yeah.
she would cut them on the diagonal, which somehow made it taste way fancier. And then sometimes she'd put like, onions in it, and then we would eat it, believe it or not, with corn tortilla quesadillas, like little
Hmm.
folded in half corn tortilla quesadillas. I don't know what it was about that. That was literally my favorite thing. It's still like when I go to my mom's house, I'll be like, Mom, can you make me some of that sausage and potatoes? Because the way she makes it is so much better than the way that I make it. And
Yeah.
I can make the same thing, but hers just tastes better. So that's
Yeah.
like one of my favorite struggle meals
Yeah.
for sure.
I was thinking about making mac and cheese and corn tonight. But my daughter asked me
Hmm.
sometimes, "Hey, can you make that top ramen in corn?" But I used to think my mom used to give me cheese sandwiches, white bread, one slice of American cheese, and Miracle Whip. Oh man, I thought I was so happy. And if I got bologna, oh,
A
yeah.
bologna and
So
mustard sandwich,
yeah,
top 10
I
tiers.
mean, I
I
never
don't,
had to eat a
yeah.
syrup sandwich, but now that I think about it, it probably was a good thing.
Although I will say, cinnamon sugar toast was also top tier. Like when you want
Hmm.
something sweet to this day, that still slaps every single
Yeah.
time.
And then they made it
Every
into a
single time.
cereal. Yeah.
Yeah. But cinnamon toast, oh, always hits right. I haven't had that in a long time. That might have to come back to the rotation. But I don't know, we were just talking about that the other day because I took some food over to my people at the brewery. I made them some just I mean to me it was really simple pasta. It was just like tomatoes and garlic and shallots, cut shallots and not onions. Um and some shrimp, and I just tossed that with like olive oil and lemon juice, and I took that over. We baked some bread, which that was fun. I made some baguettes, but we did it in the pizza oven because my oven here doesn't like get
Hmm.
hot enough, and so I have a pizza oven, and I'm like, we're gonna tackle bread in the pizza oven, and we did. It came out really, really good. Um, but anyways, we were talking about like being hungry. Like, one of the people that works at the brewery, he was just joking because I said, "Oh, I'm gonna bring you guys some shrimp pasta." And he's like, can you bring me chicken? Because I'm tired of eating shrimp. And he was just joking, but he was kidding.
Hmm.
He was just kidding. But I still brought him a piece of chicken, right? And I just brought it for him. I cooked it and wrapped it up and said, Here, because you said you were tired of shrimp. Here's some chicken. And he literally like kept his little piece of chicken in his pocket, and he kept pulling little pieces of chicken from his pocket. So we were talking about like, when you're hungry, you really kind of like cherish food, and like talking about the struggle meals. And my husband was saying that they used to eat like tortillas with just a jalapeno and salt. And that was
Hmm.
like the meal. And that's like super like nostalgic. Or they used to make these breads, bolillos here, that at the ends of them they would have like little like dough balls that would cook on them. So he would get his bolillo, but he'd pull off the bread balls and stick them in his pocket and then ride around all day long. And then later on he'd get hungry. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got this little bread in my
Yeah,
pocket." But when you don't have, I say that's why I'm a good cook because we didn't grow up with a whole lot. And so I know how to take a potato and an old tomato and, one chicken leg and make something like really delicious out of it because you sometimes don't have any other choice. I want to open up a
absolutely.
struggle, like I would love to have like a struggle foods restaurant where you could go and get like great value mac and cheese with hot dogs in it, and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches made with goober, like elevated struggle meals. A yellow cake with chocolate frosting, like the
Mm.
good, the good, good.
Yeah.
Yellow cake with chocolate frosting. Fried
Yeah,
bologna sandwiches,
the USDA cheese that actually
hmm
melts,
hmm
melts right
hmm
into nachos, those things for sure.
Some government
And,
cheese nachos for
yeah,
sure. For
yeah.
sure.
So
But
my question will be, so the opposite of the struggle meal, when you struggle to eat, so what was something that would be something in your household, your mom or whoever used to make that you hated and she still made it and made you eat it?
I don't I can't think of anything off the top of my head except for my dad used to make chili. and it would piss me off every time he made chili. And I think the reason he used to piss me off when he would make chili is that he would make like 8 gallons of it and we would eat chili for weeks. And then my dad was always like gross. So he would like toot all the time. And so every time I saw that chili, I knew he'd be a toot machine for like, and he would laugh and he would think it was so funny. And I would get so irritated with him that when I would come home and dad was cooking chili, I wanted to do the Kevin on The Office and throw the chili on the floor because it would piss me off. So he would giggle like a schoolgirl every time he'd come home and he would say, I made chili, and I'd be like, what? What? And I would throw a fit. I mean, it was good. It wasn't bad chili, but I was always pissed off every time he made that. So that's like the only thing. I can't think of anything else that we ate that I didn't like because I kind of like everything. I didn't like
Yeah,
lamb, but my mom never made. My grandma would make lamb, and I didn't like.
yeah,
I did not like lamb. Lamb is not my jam. But that's it.
yeah.
That's all I can think of.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't eat a lot of lamb either. I just, yeah, So, but my grandma used to make liver. So I'd have to drown it in ketchup and or lima beans. She'd buy the mixed veggies with the lima beans because they were cheaper, and it filled up a bag. So when we moved my mom out of our house, we moved her piano. There was 30-year-old lima beans on the wall, 25-year-old lima beans on the wall. But then
Yeah.
but my grandma used to make these. They were called mollejas or mollejitas, and they were
Uh-huh.
chicken gizzards. And so I guess they were hella cheap. So she'd go to the carniceria and buy all the mollejitas, and she would fry them and then make fajitas out of them. And so she'd do like chicken fajitas. She would do mollejita fajitas, and then she put them in a tortilla and give them to us like a burrito. And I don't know if you've ever eaten a chicken gizzard, but it is
I have
yeah,
tough.
but and just nothing but chicken gizzards is I just even that taste in my mouth today just yeah rather never go there again.
Yeah, we would also eat the gizzards, but my dad would buy them at the grocery store fried already. So they had like a little deli. So he would bring the little foil paper bag of fried gizzards and be like, "Oh, look, I got some gizzards." I'd be like, you can eat like one of them and it's all right, but I can't imagine eating a tortilla filled with
Yeah.
gizzards. To
No.
each their own. To
Oh,
each their
yeah.
own.
Well,
I'm
no,
not judging. Do
unfortunately,
what you want. Yeah.
unfortunately, to her each was our own, right? So it's like, yeah, it wasn't good. Then my dad always has to have anchovies with pizza, so we tell him to put it on the side and outside of the box in its own bag, right? If we ever eat pizza with him, so yeah, those
Yeah.
always fun
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
All right.
Always, always. Struggle meals. Yuck. No, I like struggle meals, but not the gizzard. My dad used to eat liver. We there was two things that he used to get. Then we would go out to eat. Wasn't something we necessarily cooked, but he did like to get liver and onions, which I always found incredibly appalling. And he also loved corned beef hash. And it always, as a kid, I remember it looked like dog food to me. And so I'm sure corned beef hash is absolutely delicious.
Hmm.
But I can smell the smell just talking about it. I can smell the smell of corned beef hash. And to me, again, it always looked like dog food.
Hmm.
So that's not something that I find incredibly habit. And my dad, again, my dad loved to like, he loved me to be uncomfortable. So he'd be like, "Oh, it's so good. You want to try it?" I'm like, "No, Dad, you're disgusting. You're literally disgusting." So
Yeah, and corned beef
I pay a
hash in
million
a
dollars to
can.
sit with my dad eating corned beef hash. Yeah, no, he
I hear
loved
you.
that. He loved it. He
Not,
loved
not,
it. And it
no, I
again
love
looks
corned beef
disgusting.
hash. Corned beef, I order it at places that I know actually use real corned beef, but if it looks like it comes from the can, I can't do it. Yeah, because you're right, it does look like dog food, and it
Yeah,
pretty
well,
much
thank
is
you.
dog food. Yeah, but but I know some places where they actually use real corned beef, and That's my staple.
Well,
That's my
corned beef,
go-to.
yeah, corned beef is delicious. That's what I'm saying. I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's good. I just don't know if I can ever
Yeah.
bring myself to actually try it.
It's good in specific places. So I don't,
Yeah.
yeah, don't
Yeah.
give it a
If I made
blanket.
it at home, I'd probably like it. If I made it at home, I would probably like it. But you know what? I'd give $1 million to go sit with my dad eating corned beef hash again. So,
I hear you.
sorry, Dad. Sorry,
Yeah.
Dad. I'd love to make fun of you all over again for eating dog food, but it's
Well,
funny,
there's
those
things that
moments.
there's those moments that we have that, come up to where we would do whatever we need to do to be able to have that moment, right? To be with your dad or
Hmm.
whatever else it is. And those are motivating factors, motivating thoughts, right? But, just think about how many people don't have motivators, don't have that thing that
Hmm.
gets them excited, gets them going, gets that burning platform going, right? How do you motivate them? How do you motivate the unmotivated when they don't have a tangible reason to be motivated, right? And so,
Hmm.
just that's a tough one. And you were talking about it, before we came on, just we were having that conversation about how do you motivate people who don't really have that need to be motivated.
Hmm. Yeah. It's difficult, motivation, I think, is so personal. It's part of like emotional intelligence and knowing like how to pursue and have the activation energy to do things that you have to do or want to do. Um, and it's complex because there's no like secret sauce that motivates every single person. Like in my mind, it always comes back to that idea of you've got to have something to gain or something to lose to move you into that space of motivation. And it has to be compelling enough to really like keep that energy going, right? Because I'm motivated to
Mhm.
do a lot of things in the beginning. Get me like 2 to 3 days on a brand new idea. Oh, I can't shut up about it. And then it fizzles. Like I've had if I'm an idea creator, I'm not an idea follow-upper,
Mhm.
unfortunately. So if I had a team of people to make all of my whims come to life, I mean, I'd be a bazillionaire. Uh, but I'm very motivated to think about stuff. I'm not always super motivated to actually follow through and do the work to get it done. Or I start the work and I'm super excited about it, and then the next big idea comes in. So,
But I mean,
what do you have to
obviously,
gain? What do you have to lose?
yeah, but I mean,
What was that?
obviously you've been able to, you know, carve a successful career in life out of,
Oh, for
that
sure.
mentality. So I mean, what's and it always hasn't been easy. That's the thing. I tell people all the time, if you think what we
Mm-mm.
do is easy, come try it. Come try it for a week. Teach the same
Right.
subject 5, 10 times in a week and come out
Yeah.
of it the other end feeling like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And for some of us sickos like me, that's exactly what I want to do because 10 different
Yeah.
classes mean I get to work with 10 different groups who all react to different things. But there's some folks who would see that as monotonous, right?
Yeah.
And the travel and, I was telling my wife the other day, if I'm sometimes it's a 8 o'clock to 8 in the morning till if I'm traveling teaching in Bakersfield, I get up at 8 in my hotel, and if I'm driving back that night, I won't get home till 9 at night. So
Hmm.
it's a 13-hour gig, and if you do that wash, rinse, and repeat, and it can wear on you, right? So just thinking about that idea of you know being motivated, and some folks don't necessarily have that existential need. They don't have that need to
Right.
have to do them. I mean, things are good, right? They're nice and easy, right? And they don't really have a need to want to do better. They're focused on what they have right now, and it's good enough for them, and it's maybe better than what they've had in a while. And why should I have to even think about better? And maybe
Right.
that's okay thought for some of us who have lived a life and worked hard to be able to rest on our laurels. But there's a lot of folks who really need to be able to understand, that maybe I'm not exactly where I want to be. How do I get there?
I there has to be like a difference between like being motivated and being ambitious, because there are people who are very, very content and satisfied with where they're at. And but they still have to be motivated to maintain like that status quo, right? Because, just because you've made it to one place doesn't mean you get to stay there forever. So there's the motivation isn't always about, tackling the next newest thing or moving up or moving out. It really can be the motivation to keep your job. It could be the motivation to maintain your relationships, motivation to do that work, to stay where you're at, to tread water, whatever that looks like. And that's perfectly fine. But there are some people, like you kind of mentioned, that maybe want to be somewhere else, but aren't ready, able, or willing to do what needs to be done to get to that next place, aside from maybe blame, moan, and whine about how nothing's easy for them and it's just not fair and life is so hard, or really kind of clinging to like why they're not motivated or why they're not taking those steps. It's always everybody and everything's fault and never their own. And that's to me where I get really frustrated, I think, is where you see potential, right? Like, for example, I'm not always motivated to like take over my big ideas, but it doesn't cost me anything, right? It's not costing me anything in terms of like time or stat. I'm happy where I'm at. I don't really want to do tons more than what I'm already doing. I'm somewhat enjoying my semi busy working, slightly retired lifestyle. I don't know how those two go in the same sentence, but I mean, it kind of is like I'm very active working, but I'm also got some time on my hands. And so I want to be able to maintain like that quality of life. But for other people, they're like really struggling or dependent on other people or other institutions or other, the kindness of parents or roommates or something else. And because they're comfortable there, they have no motivation to do anything different. And I don't know, for me in my lifetime, the way I've been able to get to where I'm at is necessity. Necessity for me is a great motivator, right? I can't count really on anybody to get me where I want to be. I've got to do it myself. And so, um, going from struggle slices, or struggle meals because that was the only choice, to now it's like something I can do because it's nostalgic, is very, very different than, that being the reality all of the time. So I think that a lot of people, the lack of motivation comes from they don't have anything to gain or lose from their current uh 5 minutes, or I mean, they're just stuck in the whatever's happening right now. They're not concerned about the future. They're not worried about the past. They're just comfortable. There's nothing to gain or lose for them. And they just stay stuck. And a lot of times, if things do go bad, it's never their fault.
Yeah.
Never their
Yeah.
fault.
Well, and that's the hard thing. I mean, just even thinking about, you know, there's there's people, I mean, it's just like just even talking about kids, right? I mean, if you grow up in a safe environment where you've never really had to want, where does that hunger and
Hmm.
that need for hustle, where does that come from, right? And but different people have different ways, it's not always the same for everybody. I mean,
Right.
I was expected, school was expected for me, good grades was expected for me, or at least decent grades and achievement, and you know, getting, my education and things like that. Those are things that were just par for the course of, I wanted, I wanted my parents to be proud of me, specifically my dad, and as I got older, I recognized that I need to do more stuff to make myself feel better about myself and be proud of myself. But, when I was that younger age, that was something that definitely was important for me. But it was just given. I knew I was going to go to school. I knew I was going to work, right? And how to make all of those things kind of coalesce and work. And I think, that's it's an important thing to have that struggle. And, different people have it different ways. I mean, you had the struggle, the burning platform, because, you started a family, right? Early. And so,
Hmm.
you know, you couldn't just sit there and think, oh, woe is me. Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Or no, it was, hey, look, you got to get up and put one foot in front of the other and take care of this family and raise my boys, right? And so, but some people they don't have that existential needs. So I mean, talking about kids, I get it, you know, but just even like line stuff, right? And like you talked about
Yeah.
ambition, right? Ambition doesn't have to be. A lot of people mistake ambition as upward movement, right? I had a boss one time tell me, she said, Carl, I just I have to come to grips with the fact that you're just not as ambitious as I am. And I stopped and looked and I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, you don't want my job.
Hmm.
And I was like, you're right. I don't want your job. you know, I don't want your job. I don't need your job. I get to travel and teach people, and I get to go down to Calexico if I want to. I get to go to Pismo Beach and, down that coast. I get to go up to Redding. I get to go to LA. I get to travel Bakersfield, all these different places that I enjoy. And you sit here in your office all day and you don't get to teach. You just, you know, doing paperwork. And I said, yeah, I don't really, I don't want your job. You're right. Well, you're just not as ambitious as I am. And I said, wow, so for her, ambition, she's a generation older than us. Ambition meant upward mobility, right? You find a
Hmm.
job, you get promoted, you get your increases, and promotion is an incremental increase. Doesn't matter if you like the job, you're just getting promoted at it. Work your 30 years, retire, get your golden handshake, and that was living a life. And, for me, ambition was I'm doing what I enjoy doing because I found a job where I enjoyed what I was doing and I was making a good living from it. And that's kind of where I am now, right? This concludes part one of our episode. Stay tuned for part two, coming Tuesday to all major podcast platforms.